Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in our AMA today. We have an RWA Power Up themed space about how DeFi and RWAs are shaping a $1 trillion market. We're super excited to be here. We have a lot of exciting guests. To start off, I'd like to intro T-Rise. Would you like to share, Eduardo, a little bit more about T-Rise and about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Eduardo Furtado. On the internet, I call myself Eduardo from the future. It's not a joke. I think we are in the future because all of the technology that surrounds us. And yeah, technology is my bread and butter. I'm the CTO for the T-Rise Group. We started about 3 years ago, and we're all about RWAs. We tokenize real world assets, specifically uh, real estate, new construction. So we have a deal that's live right now, for example, for the financing of a new construction, and more are coming. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here today.
Amazing. Super excited to have you. And I think we'll also have the Easy team join in a little bit. They're just running a few minutes behind. But if you don't know me already, I'm Luisa. I am the head of project delivery of LiveArt. LiveArt, we are a platform that is tokenizing tangible real world assets. So that would include anything from fine art to watches and other luxury collectibles. And Jared, welcome. Thank you for joining.
GM. Oh
Gee.
man, this is my first time using this platform, so I'm struggling to set it up. But yeah, glad to be here. I'm representing EC.io. We are a launchpad and a growth engine. We're here to support projects in whatever stage of their development, and looking forward to contributing to today's discussion.
Amazing. Well, and before we get started, I do want to anchor in why this AMA is so important. I think that we've all seen how RWA projects are booming everywhere across chains, driving TBL transactions and onboarding wide masses of users, which is really great for the crypto space. I think that, RWAs are important for many reasons, but one of them that is critical is that they are defining how real world markets move on chain and are defining a new era for finance, which is kind of what we're going to be discussing here. We have two amazing projects and live art as well. So, three amazing projects that are taking different angles, whether it is supporting other platforms that are bringing RWAs or doing RWAs themselves. I think we have very different perspectives here. And some exciting news that have happened. I think TRI's recent list of Revolut, which is amazing. Congratulations. Easy
Thank you.
Launchpad. Easy Launchpad, you guys always have pretty exciting new listings, which we'd love to hear more about. Another great thing that Ripple has been putting a lot of pretty cool reports over the past few years, but most recently they predict that 19 trillion RWA tokenization market by 2033, which is pretty incredible if you think about what that means on how many users, how much liquidity will unlock on chain. Companies like mainstream companies like Christie's now allow purchases in the real estate business with 100% crypto. And so lots of exciting things, lots of great validators. And before we dive in, I do want everybody to know we've recently launched a special badge on Base that you can claim for free and it will give you a boost on rewards. So I think we just posted on it. Take a look at our timeline on X and enjoy the free mint. So I'd love to get started. I know you guys gave a quick overview on your projects, but if you could kind of briefly give us some of the recent things that you have launched, introduce your project, and share its current real world use cases. So I guess, Eduardo, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so T-Rise launched a utility token about 3 months ago, and since then we are being very vocal about announcements. Like you said, we just announced that we're listed on Revolut right now. It's, for those that don't know, this is one of the biggest neobanks in Europe. It has more than 60 million users in Europe, and other countries. And I told a friend about it, about this partnership, and that my friend was like, "Wow, Rise is truly a global project." And so I think people can think that this is a milestone for us because it boosts the global reach of the Rise token, giving more users access to the utility. That's true, but more than that, I think this milestone represents a visible result of a deeply vested institutional strategy. This is a glimpse into the future. We are witnessing one of the first instances where a high quality RWA project meets a massive neo banking platform. So it's a sign that serious finance is coming on chain, and I think Rise is at the center of it. I'm proud for it.
Amazing. Love to hear it. And Jared, could you kind of give us a little bit more on Easy and share its current, either real world use cases or support for projects driving real world assets on chain?
Yeah, for sure. So EC, we are a launchpad. We've launched 66 projects to date, raising about $8 million for those respective projects. Um, we haven't had much RWA projects come onto our platform. It's mostly what is in trend, and at the moment, a lot of it is AI, as well as um, uh, blockchains that have specific functions. Um, but the one RWA project that we did launch is a pretty good one. It's called Estate X, and they are all about real estate RWAs, and you know, and they had their first sale, which is a property in on some island that sold out really quickly and is earning passive income on chain for all of the people who bought in. And they're also building a blockchain for RWAs specifically. Um, and it's very interesting that this project is has already settled all the regulations and everything that needs to be done to be legal in the UK, sorry, in the EU. And so they're able to offer products in the EU as well as in the US. Um, and not just to accredited investors. So this is very exciting for Estate X, which is which is the one RWA project that we have launched on EC. But of course, if anybody listening in is building RWAs and you're looking for a launch partner, do check us out, ec.io. Send us a DM on X. We'll be more than happy to connect with you and to see how we can work together.
That's awesome. And I think it's a great point that you're bringing up as well in terms of like all of the legal framework that a lot of these RWA companies are doing, because there's things that have never been done before, markets that have never been used in the way that are being used on chain. So I do think it's an important thing to note. Sometimes like the building can seem to be taking a long time, but I think it's because there's so many different things aside from just launching that are taking into account with these projects. So now with that, I guess, what does RWA at scale look like for you, Eduardo?
Yeah, the thing there is distribution. I think the distribution is the most important thing because, well, on one end you have the onboarding of these projects. Um, EC has a launchpad for it. For example, we have a platform for tokenized real world assets. We do lots of due diligence on these projects to make sure that they are um, high quality. You know, at some point we were considering the thing of tokenize anything anywhere, but we said, oh no, it doesn't really make sense to tokenize anything, even if you can. For us, it has to be high quality. So we do lots of due diligence in that. We use our decentralized AI solution that preserves privacy to help do this due diligence process. But then on the other end, you have the distribution. I think that when we're talking about scale, that's the most important thing, because you know, a tokenized construction, for example, a real estate construction, it's very complex. They can have easily 600 pages of documentation. So how do you distribute a project like that when you need investors? We are working on that for T-Rise to make this easier. I think one of the ways is also, like Jared said, not requiring too much from the investors, as in let's make something available for everyone and not just accredited investors, for example, or worldwide and not just for some specific jurisdiction. And yeah, but besides that, we also have a technological answer for that, which is the Canton network. We're members of this private, sorry, it's not private anymore. It started as a private blockchain, but it's an institutional blockchain. So the institutions are there, and that makes it so that the scale of the trades are different too. It's not one person putting $100,000 into a project. It can be an institution that can easily put $100 million into a project.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think, like, one, how do you standardize and kind of fast track due diligence for all these projects, which is important, but also institutional onboarding, which is critical for scale, right? To bring in like lots of different assets and lots of different people into like a safe sort of RWA distribution. I agree. I think that that's pretty important. And I think, with live art, we don't work with real estate. I'm going to say yet, but we primarily focused on fine art, which is where a big part of the company's background comes from, a very robust presence in the art market. And we want to make sure that we're working, for example, with a verified network of sellers that we know that their inventory is vetted, and we can guarantee that all of these pieces are high quality. Because I also think it's important for the space to make sure that everything that is being done is it's real, it's vetted, it's verified, it's safe. So thank you for bringing that up. And
Yeah.
Jared, how about you?
I just want to double click. Yeah, I just want to double click. So EC is not doing RWAs, but I'll just comment on RWAs in general. I think that we have a lot of problems in Web3, like what you guys said, right? About how do you trust that this project is actually doing what they're saying, right? Because I remember last cycle we had all sorts of weird projects promising like land on an island that we're gonna call Bitcoin Island, and that's all a scam, and RWAs that don't exist. And so I think we have that problem of verifying how our projects actually doing what they say they're doing. Um, for like stable coins, it's very easy. We already have established systems for verifying, for auditing, and all that stuff. So T-bills can be very easily verified and reported in all sorts of formats. But what about, let's say, real estate, right? What about precious metals? What about fine art? How do we know that what we were buying is actually linked to the underlying asset? And so I think um, this time around, Oracle systems uh, have been developed to such a level where I think we'll be able to mesh together Web2 systems together with Web3 systems, and people will be able to see, let's say, asset reserves. If you're building it like a gold RWA, I know of one project that's doing gold RWAs, and they have an Oracle system that is able to track what is happening in the Web2 space and to display it in Web3. And this kind of transparency, this kind of data availability has not been available until recently, and I think this will bring a lot of trust. People will be able to see, oh, okay, so these guys are actually doing what they say they're doing. They actually have gold in their reserves somewhere, in some bank or some institutions, and this is the current amount at this date of a verification. So I think we are ready to explore RWAs that are more complex, that are way more than T-bills, and what you guys are doing is very exciting, and I think it will give people a lot of new options of where to put their money uh, in order to hedge against inflation.
Totally, and to access, right? Because like I think for me, my experience with like high value art has always been to look at it from a gallery or a museum. It's just something to kind of admire, but not to own. And I think now to be able to see myself as an owner of a beautiful piece of art or of like an amazing piece of real estate that I could perhaps not afford on my own is like, I think it's pretty revolutionary and it's pretty exciting. I also love that you bring oracles. I think data is verified sources of data are important. I mean, I think for live art, we hold one of the largest art price databases in the world for art. And we're actually starting to look into oracles to make sure we can incorporate it into our protocol. Eduardo, I don't know if you guys also have any. Yeah, you do. Do you want to talk a little bit about it? Would love to learn your use case.
Yeah, I love that Jared mentioned oracles. I even have been saying for a while now that there's these discussions in congresses and regulators and etc. And I always say like they should also be talking about oracles because it's a very important piece of the infrastructure there. I can even drop a name. We use Chainlink
Yeah.
oracles. We have the integration with Chainlink's proof of reserves. That's are the reserves really there, and then they bring the data onto the chain so it can be transparently and decentralized verified. And we also for stuff like that, they just do it once. There's proof of origin, like for carbon credits, for example. Like what's the origin of the carbon credit? Is it legit or not? So that we can write on the blockchain, and the users, they don't need to go elsewhere to verify that information. They can, it's all
Right.
in there, contained in there, and they can just check the cryptographic signatures, for example.
Yeah, I think it's much needed and amazing that we all got excited about oracles. um, and I see more people have joined. Thank you for joining. Will be great if you guys can please share the space. We also have like a special mystery box reward for one of the listeners. So make sure to engage with the stream, comment or like, repost, and then we'll be announcing the winner at the end, shortly after the space ends. Something else that came to mind, Jared, with your comment is like this relationship of like how can the owners of these assets interact with this thing that they own digitally but exists physically. And I was listening I think a space a couple of weeks ago or maybe days ago, I don't know. And they were talking about how events for these assets where people can interact with the company and interact with the assets is important in growing and developing audiences. And I wonder what your take on that is, because I've always thought about it like it will be great for people to be able to visit the vault in like an organized way and see the assets that they own. I think one, it verifies like that it is there, you guys own it. You can look at it. But I also think it creates this like real sense of community. I mean, I love going to IRL events and connecting with people that I've met digitally for years. So I'd love to hear like, what's your take, Eduardo?
Sorry, my take. I thought you were asking something for Jared. I
Oh
missed
no,
the initial
I
part.
was saying that Jared inspired the thought, like of like events in connecting with your kind of real world asset holdings or the community of the project through IRL events in one shape or form.
Yeah, I've been to a few events recently. I'm still trying to figure out why Token 2049 is called Token 2049 and not 48, 50, 51. Nobody knows. But it's I would say my favorite was ETH Denver, because I think that's where the builders are. I mean, it's interesting to find the people that they are investing and they're holders, that they are in the space. The T-Rise ambassadors, for example, I've never met one yet, but I'm looking forward to that. But if Denver was great to see the builders in there and see and just exchange what the technologies that we're doing, the stacks that we're doing, how we're tackling the problems that we're tackling, you know.
Totally. And Jared, I don't know,
Yeah.
you kind of brought it up first, but if you have any more thoughts on that.
Yeah, I do. I do. I think it's very difficult for, let's say, you have a RWA project that's around Pokemon cards, right? And you want to do like, oh, let's do a Pokemon event. Um, but it's very difficult because your community is all around the world, and usually people are only able to meet in the metaverse. But one thing about RWA projects that I noticed is most of them only visit crypto conferences. If you're a Pokemon card RWA, you should visit um, gaming conventions or Pokemon conventions. I don't know what you call those. If you're an RWA for I don't know, gold, you should visit gold conventions and share your technology there and spread the gospel of crypto. I think that is a huge opportunity that I think we've been very shy to step into because of how regulators have spoken about us and have treated us in the past. But now that the US is recognizing um, our technology, our innovation, and wanting it to grow, I think it's about time that all of us step out of the shadows and start to shine.
I agree. I think that's a really good way to put it as well. Um, I'm going to go to the next question, and I'm actually going to reframe it a little bit. So the question will be, I think we all kind of agree that RWAs are a bridge to bring large amounts of people on chain. But I guess what needs to happen, or what needs to happen for that to successfully be accomplished? Do you think, Eduardo?
Yeah, yeah, maybe I can start. I like this question a lot. Usually, my answer revolves about my grandma. So I think about grandmothers because it's hard to explain to at least to my grandmother what is Bitcoin,
Mhm.
and even harder to explain the power of Ethereum or full Turing complete blockchain that can automate stuff like a decentralized computer. Uh, but on the other hand, my grandma, she understands real estate investing.
Yeah.
So when we focus the conversation on the use cases and not on the technology, you know, like people use Facebook, for example, or X, and they don't really know what's the database that Facebook is using or X is using. What's under the hood? They just care that on Facebook they can do this, on X they can do that. So I think it goes through there, and I think it's already happening. We were talking about the beginning of the stream that T-Rise just launched our utility token on Revolut. It's a neo banking platform.
Hmm.
There are normal people in there, like maybe my grandma is in there. So it bridges these gaps by when we put these new technologies, these new opportunities where people where they are already, where with things, with language that they are already used to. So we're not really reinventing the wheel, we're just making improvements that everyone can benefit from.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a very good point. It's like, I think connecting people with a use case that they know, that they're familiar with, that they understand well, and just kind of like enhancing that experience or making it bigger, more accessible, more liquid is a great way to do it. And like, yeah, it's I don't think any platform that we use every day that it's outside of crypto, people are like really diving into how it works and how the under the hood technology is wired. And I think that's where probably crypto is going to be heading into in a couple of years. Like nobody's going to be talking about how things move on chain, but just like using the products. Jared, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like that very much. I think we are all right now at the very early stages, so we're still comparing blockchains. But eventually everybody's gonna be super fast, like 10,000, 100,000 TPS. Everybody's going to have fast finality, no reorgs. So what is going to set us apart? Nothing. And so really, I think the underlying technology is not that important. Just like the internet, it's the applications that are being built on top that will rise to the forefront, like Polymarket, like T-Rise as well as Live Art. Another thing that I think uh, is exists in the real world. I mean, in the Web 2 world, but not yet in Web 3, is the ability to refinance with our assets.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if I have a house, I can go to the bank and say, "Look, I've already settled my loan. I want to take another loan with my house as collateral," and the bank does that. Now that we have all these assets on Web3, like I want to be able to take a live art piece that I bought. I want to be able to put it somewhere, take a loan out of it, so I can use that money. I don't know for other things, and then eventually, when someone wants that piece of art, I can sell it and settle the loan. Um, and then I can keep the balance. I think that is something that we don't have yet in Web 3. But once we do, I think it will unlock a new world of utility, as well as allow our RWA assets to be productive. Um, and people can provide liquidity and earn from it. And then it's a lot of amazing things that we can do. And I think with crypto technology, really our imagination is the limit.
I completely agree. I think that is a great point. And I guess since you already mentioned lending, I think on that route, I'll go on to our next section, which is like, what's the most efficient way to bring different kinds of RWAs? Pick the one that you're the most familiar with into lending markets. I'll start with you, I guess, Eduardo, since we're following that order now.
No, okay. I thought Gerald would want to keep talking since it was the intro. But anyway, I think that we just. But by the way, Gerald, I think we met before at least in the next space recently, maybe last week.
Yes,
But yeah, I remember
yes,
that.
we
Anyway,
met in a few spaces. Good
mm,
to see you, our face to face. But I haven't
uh,
shown my face yet. So.
yes.
Mhm.
So yeah, this thing about lending markets and vaults, efficiency there. My thoughts immediately come to institutions there, and we were talking about grandmothers and real people getting into the space, but I think everything starts with a need. What is the need? What is the need of the market? And yes, the market needs that. Real estate, for example, they love leverage, because I wouldn't say it's a stable market, but it's resilient. So prices are less volatile. So people take more leverage. They take more loans using those as collateral. So what are the needs of the institutions, and if you follow those needs and you give them solutions, I think that's where you make things more efficient, because well they need efficiency. They don't want to lose for friction when there's so many intermediaries here and there and stuff like that. So by bringing RWAs, by enabling institutions to use them, to me that's the most capital efficient way.
Right. To get them to onboard their assets, basically. Um, yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
or to get into the trading game
Oh yeah, that too. That makes
of
sense.
these markets.
Awesome. And
But yeah,
Cool. Great. Jared, any additional
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yep. I got a few thoughts. First, it depends on what standard you're using to tokenize your asset. Is
Mm-hmm.
it a ERC20? Is it a what the NFT one? And then, or is it your own custom classification, right?
Yeah.
So if it's a ERC20, there are, I think, there's a lending market called Morpho that
Mhm.
has open sourced its contracts. Um, I think it'll, I think it'll be very easy for, let's say if you're tokenizing gold, right? It's very easy for you to reach out to the team, talk to them about using their smart contracts, and then plugging that into your interface instead of like telling people, "Oh yeah, go to Morpho," because the people who buy RWAs may not be crypto native, so they wouldn't know like, all right, I don't want to go somewhere else. I want to do everything on your platform itself. So you can host that there. If you're using NFTs, then there's a whole different standard to it. But I think when it comes to like art pieces or real estate, you need like someone to value it, and then an institution or actually even DeFi users can actually provide the liquidity, especially if the yield is attractive enough. But we do need quite a bit of Web 2 intervention, with people to value the asset and to tell the lender like, okay, so this asset is has this amount of value. You a good amount to loan out to this person for this asset as collateral is this amount. So I think there's a lot of infrastructure. There's a lot of services that have to be put in place. But I think it's a little bit too complex for me to go into right now, hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if someone is specifically building for one type of asset class, I think yeah, they will have all the solutions figured out. And if they can turn on this refinancing option, taking loans off of their RWA assets, I think that will be very, very attractive, and it'll be a competitive edge over other people doing the same thing.
For sure. And like to be able to kind of dab into kind of more volatile asset classes while you have, some collateral with a very stable asset like an RWA. But as Eduardo said, like institutional onboarding here is critical to be able to do this at scale in a sustainable way. Um, so great. We've come to the last portion of our AMA, and I think I'd love to leave with a very, very positive note with the last sort of question, which is what makes RWAs a powerful source of liquidity, in your opinion? Eduardo or
Uh,
Jared?
yeah, let me take this to start. Uh, I think it's already happening. By the way, the a TVL, the total value locked of protocols. It's getting higher and higher by the day. And like you guys just mentioned, Morpho, that's on base, one of the protocols that's in there. I just think that you don't need to talk to them to put stuff in there. It's a permissionless protocol, so anybody can come and use the smart contracts to build a vault in there. So this kind of decentralized application that composes the builds on top of tokens. I think that's the where it's coming from, this growth. And the main thing that's needed there to me is standards. I think
Mm-hmm.
Jared mentioned that it's possible for builders to just deploy RWAs or tokenize assets with their own with their own technology, but I don't think it's a good idea to reinvent the wheel. So I would go more towards the NFT standards, 721, for example, or ERC20 that to represent equity. We at TRISE, we use ERC 3643, which is a wrapper around ERC20. So it builds on top of ERC20 to implement compliance on the blockchain level, which is important for security tokens when there are regulatory needs to be met. So Yeah, why is RWAs a powerful source of liquidity for crypto? I think that's pretty obvious. These are assets that exist in the real world, and they have real value from their real utility. For if
Mhm.
you tokenize real estate, for example, there might be people paying the rent, and that's where the source of the income comes from.
Yeah, that's a
Yep.
beautiful take.
Yeah, I want to give an example of this um, gold RWA project. So it's very expensive to uh, to to mine gold, and it's often quite difficult to do, and because it does take time, maybe sometimes up to 10 years before you can actually get that gold in your hands. And it's a quite a intensive process and expensive process. And so um, w- we have very good technology to I don't know to scan the ground and find that gold. Um, but it takes time and it takes capital to get to that goal. And so I know of an RWA project which is doing that and giving you an opportunity to buy that gold at a quarter of the price. Let's say they think that there's a kilo of gold in there. I'm using the metric system, a kilo of gold, um, but you only have to pay like a quarter, like 25% for that kilo. And so that to an investor, that's a really good value because if you're willing to wait long term, not only will gold appreciate, but your money will essentially 4x when they complete the entire mining process. Um, and so you could potentially be sitting at more than a 4x. 4x is a minimum. And so I think that is very powerful because, with real world assets, the value of the asset is pegged to something in the real world. Like for the
Mhm.
example that I shared, it's a precious metal, and it does grow over time and it's none of that Ponzinomics, not inflationary, not fake at all. It's something real and it's backed by something real that's usable in the world. And I think this is what makes RWA very, very powerful as a financial asset.
For sure, it's like existing markets, right? Like driving um, all of these assets, which is great. And now on chain, they can just trade more rapidly and across more people. Well, that was amazing. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciated your time today, Eduardo and Jared from T Rise and Easy. We'll be announcing the winner of our little raffle today, and we'll hope to join one of your spaces soon and to do this again sometime soon. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having me. I enjoyed the space. Nice to meet you, Luisa, Eduardo. See you soon in another space.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much, everyone in the audience too. I just want to ask everyone to stay tuned, follow us on X for our next announcements, and please don't forget to laugh, don't forget to breathe, and I hope I talk to you again in the future.
Yep. Bye.